right, so we will be live momentarily. We'll see if we get all our usual beautiful people setting up. It's now being live streamed. Got it. So I got to find the chat and pop it out. I'm probably going to have to get, I was about to make a video on this, but since we're live in the beginning, I'll go ahead and mention it now. My computer is like on the verge of completely dying, and I can't even edit videos anymore. That's why I haven't done anything like 2 or 3 weeks. Every time I go to edit a video, it completely like freezes up and gets all choppy. And I've gone through all the things that might be software related issues. And this computer is like over a decade old, so I just need to replace it. So I'm going to be doing that soon. But if there's any weird issues tonight, hopefully that will not get too bad. But I'm not going to be able to make any more videos for probably a week or two until I get a new computer and get it all set up with all my same programs and editing software and everything. So 10 years isn't too bad run for one desktop, though, I guess.
I find after 3 or 4 years of absolute donkey show porn that you really have to start to change stuff. It's a weird one.
See, I'm blaming it on all the NSA and CIA and FBI. I'll probably have spyware on my computer, so they're clogging it up.
Yeah, it's that. See that show on Netflix, The Inside Job?
No, I haven't seen it.
Yeah, it's this cartoon. It's about how they. I don't know. It's kind of like, but it's funny how a lot of things that happen on TV end up coming truthful in
right.
The future and stuff like that. So I'm just watching this show and I'm like, I wonder if they're saying something without really saying something.
Oh, like predictive programming type thing.
Yeah,
I don't know if
like
I buy into too much of that. I think my guess would, because they would have very little incentive to tell us about that stuff if it was some kind of conspiracy. I think it's just when you get close to these things, there's enough of the hints and stuff out there, or it's in the public zeitgeist to know that's enough that someone is thinking about this and makes a story about it in art or culture in some way. That would be my guess. But I guess it's certainly possible that they could be like, oh, we'll trickle the idea out there to shift the Overton window by making a TV show about it. Maybe, but.
Well, it's like the old days where, you could buy National Enquirer or
with Bat Boy and everything.
magazines, and I thought to myself, well, hey, maybe they're doing this to kind of give the people an idea that, hey, we're not hiding it anymore, but it's, right. Or they've never even really hit it, or they can just blame, oh, that's a tabloid, or, oh, that's The Simpsons, or, oh, this is, it's just that TV show on Netflix that's, are you going to put, all your beliefs in that? But
yeah, I guess it could be a way of this, discounting it, is to be like, oh, that's just science fiction stuff or whatever. But if it's a brand new idea, I don't see what they would have to gain from putting it out there at all. But if it's something that people are starting to like think or talk about, then maybe they could do that as a way to, like you say, keep it a joke or keep it in the realm of sci-fi by making it shows and movies about it. But
it's interesting. It's very interesting to see, or what they could be doing, or just like preppers have been called conspiracy theorists, and preppers have been saying, hey, we got to get ready for this because of this. No, that'll never happen. It's like on top of my head, the conspiracy prepper guys were saying, oh yeah, this vax is going to be mandatory. You're going to have to get it to work, and no, that would never happen. They'd never make us do something like that. And
now it's happening. Another one that I just saw that they've actually admitted now, it was in CNN, it was in a couple other places, that people were called conspiracy theorists for, was that the vaccine was giving women issues with their periods, like either delayed or prolonged or something. And I've seen articles on CNN and other mainstream approved sources like admitting it now and saying that it's not a big deal, but it is happening. And like that was straight up, that type of talking about stuff like that was getting people's accounts banned, less than a year ago. Yeah. And now they're out here saying that it's like admitting it.
Unbelievable.
It's I know here in Ontario there already talks about these supplement booster shots. So I think they're already talking about booster shot number 4 is what we're getting on the table now. So what do you guys, is that what they have there in Nevada? How many boosters?
They have, I know that there is a booster available. I don't know or have heard of anyone getting the second booster, aka the 4th shot yet, other than just online and in other countries. I know Israel's pretty much solidly on the 4th shot now. I think most people in the US, they're trying to convince to get the first set and the booster. But I know the compliance has dropped off pretty significantly even after the first set. Like a lot of people who got the first one are not getting the booster, and even fewer of those are getting further shots. But it's still just wild to me that you could get 3 or 4 shots within 1 year to supposedly prevent this disease, still be afraid of getting the disease, and blame it on the people who haven't got all these shots. Like, that's a little bit nonsensical.
Yeah, it sure is. What about out there, Dan? Is it, say, I suspect it's probably different all around the world in terms of first shot, second shot, booster shot. It seems like the information is changing daily. And if you talk to 2 different professionals or experts, are going to get 2 different opinions. But we're locked down here in Ontario, Canada. We went to full lockdown. Kids are not going back to school up until like the 3rd week of January, and we know it's really going to be to the end of February. So we're in modified stage 2 lockdown. It's a lot of unhappy campers here in Ontario. How are things out west?
So.
Out west of Canada, you mean?
Yeah, you know, the guys above you.
Both.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, it's weird. I was at Costco today in Vancouver, or sorry, Vancouver Island, where I'm working, and it was jam packed with people. Like I kept thinking to myself, you know, I kept thinking of you know, any end of the world doomsday movie you've ever seen. Everybody's like grabbing shit off the shelves, and
right.
You know, people are bumping in the carts. And I'm like, yeah, I guess this is what it's going to look like when the apocalypse finally happens. But yeah, I you know, in the back of my mind, I kept wanting to say to these people, I'm like, hey, you guys get ready for this new lockdown that's supposed to be happening, which there's not really supposed to be a lockdown happening, but you know what?
Right.
Few people hear that, and then they'll be like buying all the water and the toilet paper and all the rice. And it's crazy, but so far there's not any real lockdowns out here.
Okay, that's good. Yeah, lockdowns specifically haven't really been a thing in the U.S. for quite some time, but it's vastly, like, what restrictions there are is hugely dependent on the states. But most states are at worst a mask mandate. That's what we have here. It's not really too far enforced too heavily outside of certain things like big venues and casinos and stuff. Like I never wear one. I go to the grocery store and stuff. It's not an issue. But I think the worst places in the U.S. are probably like San Fran, New York, and D.C., where they actually are checking people's like vaccine cards to get into local businesses and stuff like that. But then there's places like Florida, which are completely open. So
amazing. I've got a I made a wood stove generator thing. I think I'm still testing out, but I'm gonna go run it, grab it quickly, maybe show the audience quick.
Yeah, is it like a gasifier or something?
Let me grab it. I'll be right back, and see you guys in 2 seconds.
Yeah.
Okay, when he leaves, we can talk about his hair.
Yeah, right.
Just kidding, Jay.
Just trash him for like 3 minutes and then cut right back in when he comes back. But so, anyways, yeah. So the toilet paper
who would wear a
shortage.
sweater like that on a live video? Like, come on, we got viewers here that we don't need to worry people about. Gee, my God.
Right. Oh yeah, BRG has a good point. I don't know if you've tracking too much what's going on down here with regards to this, Dan, but there was a federal mask mandate, or not mask mandate, federal vaccine mandate that the president tried to put into effect, that any company over 100 people, everyone had to have the vaccine. That was initially struck down by a circuit court. Another circuit court reinstated it. So now they pushed it up into the Supreme Court, which when something's pushed really quickly to the docket, it usually means that they're probably planning on shutting it down, because otherwise they could just ignore and leave the lower decision to stand. So it's probably a good sign that they rushed it up there. But the way some of these justices have been talking about it and saying this completely dumbass stuff, like just like kindergarten level mistakes on the facts of like coronavirus. Like one of the justices, the Supreme Court of the United States, justice saying that there was like 100,000 kids on ventilators with this. And it's like, there's not even 100,000 like kids in the ICU, like period, for any reason in the entire country. And another one saying there were 750 million cases. There's only 350 million people in the country. Like just these insanely like kindergarten level inaccuracies from the people who are the highest court in the land is really disturbing. So I'm still hopeful that it's going to get shut down just on the basis of not even that it's necessary, or their whole job is supposed to be whether this mandate is legal based on the Constitution, which it certainly isn't, not whether it's even needed or works, or none of that's really relevant. But we should find that out within a couple of days, luckily. So I'm hoping for good news, but it could be pretty bad if they get retarded and uphold it. So
All right.
Yeah,
what is that?
Sorry, go ahead.
Is that a drone?
Oh,
No, it's a
right.
stove,
No,
right?
it's there's residual heat off of this.
Okay.
You got a heat sink on there?
Exactly. The heat sink in between what's called a thermoelectric generator in the middle, generates power. And so the fan's still spinning from that. I made this from
That's pretty neat.
from one of those protein powder.
So it's a thermal generator, basically?
Yeah, just uses the heat. And what's kind of neat on this one is I got two magnets here. So it's a little portable stove system. So it just magnets right at the very back.
You just clamp it onto a stove or something, and then it
doesn't need clamps. It's got these two neodymium. I don't know if I'm saying that correctly, with the specialty magnets, and it just sticks right there. So
do those stay magnetic when they heat up? Because I know some things lose magnetism as they get hot.
Well, geez, I guess we're going to find out, aren't we? Got a camping trip in a couple of weeks.
Steaming hot thing falls into your lap.
Yeah, but I thought the whole concept is it pushes the air around in your tent, as a canvas tent. So anyway, so that was running. I thought you folks might be.
Okay, so this is, you made that for the fan, not to just generate electricity in general, right? It's specifically to get a fan going.
Yeah, just to circulate the heat. I mean, I've got another unit I purchased. It's got 4 of these tags, and it produces 12 volts. It's, the perfect at optimal settings, optimal heat. And you can charge your phone, or you can do other sorts of stuff with it. But this, if I'm really get this hot enough, I could probably get some sort of LED happening at the same time. But this is just to circulate the heat around the wood stove in my little canvas tent. And
it's awesome.
Yeah, that's quite neat.
They have there's a commercial version of something similar. I forget what it's called. It's the Eco something.
That's right. It's the same exact
but it's built into the pot, and then it just has like a little USB charger or something like that to charge phones or lights or lumens. So that's pretty cool. Because you could theoretically use that from any heat source, right? Just put anything that could absorb the heat from.
Exactly. And not too sure why the technology isn't as popular as it could be, because I mean, there's just a lot of the byproduct of energy, and the things we do with energy is just heat that gets thrown away in the atmosphere. But anyways, listen, I didn't mean to take things off topic. I just thought I'd show the folks that. It's kind of a cool thing.
Our topic's whatever we want to talk about.
But when you guys got on before I did.
Destiny says you finally have a real fan that's not a stalker. Get it?
Who's that?
A fan, Destiny. Get it? You have a fan.
Oh, right.
Oh man.
Bravo. That was very good.
Touche.
Zing.
Yeah,
freaking hilarious. It's not, what's funny is she's probably watching too. Yeah.
Would you feel bad if eventually if they give up? Does that make you feel happy, or like, oh?
Are you joking, dude? I'll tell you after what this psycho did just like 2 weeks ago. It's funny because I deal with my friends. I'm like, if you want to, you got a warm place to stay Saturday night, 3 a.m. or whatever.
Right.
And I talked to the police, and they're like, well, we're not, they don't give a shit about guys. I'm a guy. So, and then you guys are laughing at me. Nobody seems to give a fuck about
just
this
like
situation.
To keep things, keep up the brevity.
Hey, but same thing happened to me. When I was a young soldier, I met a girl, and a tale
as old as time.
Yeah, of course. It's thank God she didn't become a dependopotamus. But
right, exactly.
Well, I dodged a bullet there, but I'll tell you, I feel your pain because I went through it for at least 6 months, man. Like it was, and this was days before Facebook, before cell phones, before any of that stuff. And, it's definitely her word, over mine. And of course, the young 19-year-old soldier, of course, they're going to believe the girl who had serious mental problems. And I'm not just saying that, she lived in a home with other head cases. It was just, it was a shit show. But that's why I can make fun of you, because I lived it. So
All right. Dan, okay, what do you got? Eric, your turn. You're up.
As far as what?
Have you had a similar experience?
No, man, I've been a non-single man for a very, very, very long time. But there always was a joke in the Army here about like the cliche of as soon as people join the Army, dudes will start getting a paycheck and go get a Camaro at 23% interest and a huge fat girlfriend or something.
Okay.
Not me. I'm in my prime.
Let's veer back to preparedness related stuff.
I don't know about what you guys want to bring up tonight. There's a few things that I would like to kind of discuss, and get some input from both of you, input from, people watching tonight. I don't know if you guys seen what's been kind of going on in Canada for the last few weeks, but in Quebec, it's been a shit show there. And basically, so they had a curfew. Then they were like, hey, listen, we need the military again. But in my mind, I was like, oh, shit, okay. So he's just going to get the military to come in and help administer boosters and stuff like that. But according to one news story that I read, it's going to be very few medics, but a lot of logistical support in Laval, Montreal, and other surrounding communities. And I all of a sudden, ding, 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 from back when I was military, I immediately took that was, well, shit, man, they're going to start forcing booster shots on people. And really, in Canada, you're not going to need a huge army to force people to do things. It could be a platoon or, a couple sections of guys that, people are just going to listen and comply like everybody's been doing so far. I think this is a test run, as they always like to call it, to, other avenues of what they're going to do in the future.
Certainly possible. Like I've said before, I think they want to do all that stuff. Obviously, I mean, especially Trudeau has said some pretty harsh words for the unvaccinated and stuff lately in terms of what he thinks of them and what he would like to do. But I think that they don't need to yet do like a door-to-door force type thing, because they can just consolidate it around preventing people from, like they're doing in New York and stuff like that. Like they can just say, okay, you can't do any of these things, and put the resources in guarding that, and just kind of wait for more and more people to basically be forced to do it until there's only a tiny amount left that haven't had to do it. But who knows? I mean, like I said, the type of things they've been saying, like Trudeau and Macron especially, Macron was saying basically that he hates the the unvaccinated and is trying to make this painful for them, as like a punitive measure and everything. And Trudeau said something pretty similar, but I don't remember his exact words. I'll try to look it up, or if you guys remember what it.
Racist.
He went all
extremists.
Exactly. Yeah, and it's like, what?
How do you get? Oh,
yeah, it's literally just a non sequitur. Like it doesn't make any sense, especially because at least in the U.S. and I'm assuming it's the same in Canada and elsewhere, that non-white demographics have been more reluctant to get the vaccinations. Like Black people here in the US are way less likely to get the vaccine than white people. So to say that it's like a racist decision to not get the vaccine is just completely at odds with reality. If it matters, if it has any bearing at all.
Look at anything that's coming of that bonehead. And the guy was blackface for, not
literally. And this is a guy that literally has like blackface pictures out there. But I mean, I think that's why they do this, is their chance to virtue signal and be like, oh, see, we're doing this for. Yeah, here, I got a article up. He said, where was it? He said the people are angry at the at the unvaccinated, and I forget what he said he was going to do, but it was something. It was like I said, it was harsh words. So it doesn't look good.
One thing that maybe we could kind of look at is we really haven't seen martial law in Canada. It's happened in Quebec in the 70s, before they had a shit show happen there. It's funny, a lot of viruses come from China and a lot of shit shows come from Quebec. I don't know what's going on, but
the Frenchies.
One thing to kind of look at is how to be a prepper or how to prep, say, during a martial law scenario where you have a curfew, you have obviously the biggest number one answer to that would just get the fuck out of Dodge and go to
if possible,
go to your bug out location and kind of wait it out. But if some people can't, they're in their 60s or 70s and they can't really leave their area. But what happens when they start?
Well, not even logistically, but like we mentioned a few times, we're kind of in this horrible scenario where in some ways it's worse than if it's a grid down or like a real apocalypse, because like if you want to go to your bug out location, but you still have to go to your job or something, you know what I mean? Like, we're not in this situation where it's purely, everything's shut down. Like stuff is supposed to be running normally. So you still have to pay taxes, still have to go to work, but then also deal with these type of SHTF situations.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I thought it was really unprofessional the way that the premier of Quebec spoke to the people. I thought it was weird. One day they just decided we're going to refrain from it's legal. Cannabis is legal here. They got these shops. They basically said you cannot get cannabis or you cannot go to the to purchase any beer or wine. It's all very strictly regulated here unless you had your vaccine. And what's next? Food was just it felt very like a controlling measure, like almost dictatorship, which I don't align with. I disagree with what's going on there. This is what you would expect in some SH country,
Yeah.
Well, also we have SBQR Cincinnati says he questions the merits of the concept of a bug out location. I think he means specifically for this type of situation. And it's a good point because, I mean, if you're kind of just getting a little bit farther away for a temporary period of time, but you're not really, it's not like in a typical disaster scenario where you can assume that eventually things will subside or get back to normal. That doesn't necessarily do anything other than temporarily avoid, are you planning on living out there for the rest of your life, waiting until hopefully everyone else changes their mind? Like what would be the plan in that sort of situation?
Yeah, that's a really, really good point, which it's sort of been incremental. People often think bug out, well, we got to bug out now. Flames are flying, cars on fire coming out of the place. All sorts of stuff's going on. We got to go now. This is not the case. This is the actions that the Quebec government is doing. It's so incremental, and it's leading up to people getting forced lineup, or like you guys were suggesting earlier, forced vaccinations. So do you leave your family? Kids are in school and go to the shed in the woods and get out there.
And then what? And then, I mean, like a lot of us preppers have months, maybe even years of supplies, but that's still a finite amount of time. You're just going to stay out there for a year or two, and then what?
Well, and that's the thing, a lot of groups that I've kind of, hung out with or whatever, they've always said that you either have to have 6 months to 2 years worth of food supply to, just to kind of have. But what happens after 2 years?
Right.
Are things going to get mysteriously better? It's, I look at World War II when it really started getting bad. That was a good 4 or 5 years when stuff was really happening. So, unless you're in a good location where you have plenty of wildlife, plenty of, water around, if you've stocked up the really good things, well, then, yeah, sure. Maybe you can hang out for, 2 years to 3 years.
Right.
A also that's on a good scenario. After 6 months, and people that have decided to stay in the city, or if it's really that, like, I'm talking Red Dawn, scenario,
Right.
shit show. Is it people are going to start to go, keep going out? Good. Did you guys ever see that TV show Jericho?
Yeah, it was actually pretty good. I wish they had more seasons of that, honestly.
Yeah, now that was a very good, and to show you kind of what happens, Shay, just give you an idea. Basically, the top 1% set off a bunch of nuclear bombs all over the states, and basically knocked out the power grid, and people were, it showed how people went from, hey, I'm going to help my neighbor, to, hey, fuck you, I'm going to shank you for your last bottle of water.
Right.
But it went to show that, people, when they ran out of food in their little area, well, then they started going out. So if your bug out location is, say, 30 minutes outside of town, well, that's not going to do you any good, because sure, things will be good for the first, 6 months, and then all of a sudden, Johnny boy neighbor there is getting hungry. He wants to come to your cattle ranch and start taking food and such. So
yeah, I do think that you guys, Canadians specifically, are in a fairly unique situation where you have the amount of space versus the amount of population versus how many people would actually be left after a major event. That if you did have like a rural location, there's probably very few other places in the world where you'd have as good a shot of being left alone if you get way out there and can truly live off the land. But it's still, you're not going to be guaranteed, because like you said, there's still going to be potentially millions of people that are going to have to go increasingly farther and farther out to search for things.
Most won't make it very far in the woods. No, don't mean to bash on my fellow Canadians, but a lot don't have
people in general.
experience.
Right,
Sure,
especially through
just
harsh winters, and if you're,
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. What's interesting too about Canada is 75% of we've got a huge mass of lands. I think it's around 75% of it is forest or like just natural. So there are lots of places to hide.
yeah, I mean, if you look at, there's a map that I've seen just recently about how much of some massive percentage of the population lives right just basically north of the United States border, on kind of just on the east side over there, like the part that kind of dips down into almost the US, like it's clustered, and it's in a massive country. So if you really are rural enough, you'd have as good a shot as anywhere at really being left alone, but you'd have to be basically completely able to live off the land, and you still wouldn't be guaranteed to be completely left alone. It would only take, if you only have yourself or maybe your family, it only takes 2 or 3 guys to get up to your location to really mess with your operation if you don't have, full-time security or something like that.
Yeah, but I'm on the standpoint, if you get rural enough, if you're able to really, if you've got a bit of survival game, bushcraft game, some stores, geostashes deep in the woods, and you're sensitive and aware of your environment, I think a few people would, well, a few, those that have game would fare. They would do okay in a longer term situation. But let me just bring it back to Quebec for a second, if you guys don't mind. I think this is going to be a situation where it's going to lead up to a knock on the door scenario, where they've got these incremental enforcements and policies that keep chugging along, and Trudeau's on the premier side, and they're sort of taking a dictatorship role against the citizens here. What do you guys think? What do you think is going to, this is why I don't think guys are going to bug out necessarily in Quebec.
Right.
Maybe you should get Dean on for this. He's from Quebec. We've had him on before. Great guy, fellow prepper. He's right in, I think well, I won't say where he is. But it's so incremental. It's plausible. It's going to lead up to, we did this. Now we have to go door to door, and well, your name's on here. You don't have the shot. So is that, is that when the switches flick on and it's go-to time?
I guess it depends. You guys would know more of the general vibe up on your side of the border than I would, but I just, as a concept, it seems like in any of these countries, US, wherever, they've kind of already reached the point where the people who haven't got it yet are never going to get it, or only a small percentage more might be convinced to, but they've already reached the point that, like, of the people that are willing to do pretty serious sacrifices of various kinds to avoid it. So if they keep pushing, we'll definitely get to see what's going to happen. I can't say for sure what that'll be. Depends on how hard and in what ways they push. But it is interesting to see that the more and more, like I just mentioned earlier about them talking about like people's periods getting messed up. The CDC recently came out and admitted that the cloth masks don't really work. That you should be using. So I mean, like they're getting, and then and then Biden said there's no federal solution. He kind of gave up on, because he doesn't want it to be his fault. So they said no, there's no federal solution. It has to be the states. So it seems like as the general kind of approved Overton window is shifting towards there's nothing we can do, it's not a big deal, whatever, it's getting less and less strict, their effects are getting more and more totalitarian at the same time, that last ditch effort. So it's weird to see those two things happening simultaneously. So hopefully it's just their last push and there won't be too much behind it. But who knows? It depends on the country. I think Germany recently backed off what was about to be like a forced vaccination mandate of sorts. They kind of backed away from that a little bit because I think they realized they're at the point now where the only people left are going to be willing to basically fight physically to stop it. So how much do they really care about it that much, especially in a country like the United States? I guess we'll find out.
It's my biggest take on this is how Trudeau used to say how he respects China and how all this stuff that he was saying before. But, it leads up to this question. Okay, so they've asked for small contingents of military personnel to come out to help them with logistics. I use that term very loosely. But then it kind of asked me the questions, why was the Canadian military training Chinese soldiers for winter warfare in Ontario in 2018?
Yeah, I mean, that's not even like another NATO country that you can say, oh, we're technically allies or whatever. Yeah. Like this is like technically pseudo-hostile country.
So just out of curiosity, why, there's snow in China, there's mountains in China.
Yeah, they can go to North Korea if they want to train there.
Why would they need to know Canadian winter warfare tactics in Canada? Which kind of leads me to believe that they're doing all these small little tests with what's going on, and they kind of expect Canadians to get unruly, per se, just for them to say, hey, our military can't control these people, these racist,
misogynist,
unvaccinated people. We need help.
Here's a question: in your opinion, if that's what's going on, what would be the incentive for China to even be using their resources for that? What do you think they're getting out of the deal? Money, oil.
The resources in Canada. Up north, like there is so much untapped stuff out there that who knows? Again, it could be another tight tinfoil hat wearing thing, but
Destiny brings up a good point too, that the Chinese citizens that already own a huge portion of real estate in the various parts of Canada.
Yeah, I can certainly vouch for that. A friend of mine lived at a house that was rented from Chinese. I think it was 4 different Chinese owners were connected to this house. And down the road, there's another Chinese house for sale. Sales people are Chinese, and hey, look at awesome. Come here, make some money, buy some real estate. If you're a good person, that's your intention. But Stan was suggesting it is a little messed up to think that they're training winter survival and warfare.
Right.
Why is there a union with a country to actively train together and be happy together with your training? Hey, you're training with the Chinese, with a country that is killed its citizens.
Right.
In my lifetime, the government, B, is actively trying to censor, control all the information. Like I can go on and on and on. So why would you want to have any sort of
currently sanctioned for human rights violations? They're communist.
Yeah. So hey, let's say, come on over to Canada. We're going to train you.
Yeah, and we need your help because our citizens are unruly. They're not listening to us anymore. Then all of a sudden, you go from Canadian
Right.
forces that I think there's 90,000 people strong to, there's 2 million Chinese soldiers out here telling you to get your, 19th booster shot, or, you're going to the camp.
Wow.
Plus,
Wow. That's okay. Go, man. It's all you.
see what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
basically now in a few months' time, our amnesty for our banned firearms are supposed to be turned in end of March.
Right. Yeah.
So basically,
Yeah, interesting timing there. Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like it's so many different things that that are kind of popping up that are like, hey, wait a minute, why is this happening? Oh, and then all of a sudden this is happening. How is Ontario getting so many cases when Ontario's almost fully vaxxed?
Right.
Yeah.
That's I think Quebec was the staging point for this for these curfews and military. I think Ontario is going to be next, and Ontario is going to be like, "Fuck you, we're not doing it." And then basically, well, Saskatchewan, Alberta will be same thing. Like, we'll go fuck your mother. That's not happening.
It's a little vulgar, but okay.
Yeah. Well, again, fuck, couldn't be worse than the dog ball hat. But
Yeah, right. No, I'm not worried about it. Don't
What
worry.
do we sign up here for, Eric? Kevin looks like he's
Makes-
trumped us on language.
Yeah, I was the
that's
worst
for sure.
before, so it's good. It makes me look better, like
Oh, yeah.
saintly choir boy.
Yeah.
yeah,
So I like it.
I'll be your priest.
Exactly. Oh, yeah. Hawk says, "Much love, Shay." Super chat. Thank you, Hawk. I know you
Thanks,
guys know each other.
Yeah,
right?
thanks, man. Hope you're doing well with the wife there and the kids. And I think we're gonna have an expo probably in July this year. And
Awesome.
hopefully this thing calms down. So see you out there, brother. Thanks for that. Appreciate it.
Yeah, and I will say that we, like I was mentioning earlier, we'll get to, you said the assault rifle ban or gun ban of sorts, and there's a few European vax mandates. A lot of stuff supposed to happen in the next, basically spring, within the next 3 or 4 months this quarter. So we'll get to see if they start backing down or if it really kicks off in a few of these places. But it should be interesting first half of the year.
Yeah, I was
Be ready for anything.
If you thought 2021 was a dumpster fire, I think this is going to be like, I think it's going to be 4,000 dumpsters on a giant cargo ship
On a barge.
on fire. you know what I mean? Burning.
Yeah.
So I think this isn't going away, and the reason it's not going to go away is because they're getting away with it all, so to speak.
Yeah. Like I said, though, it is interesting to see them slowly backing off a lot of the elements of it, though, of the like how serious the COVID is, at least in the US, CDC, things like that. So at the same time, getting more strict about controls. Very strange.
No, it's not like that in Canada, man. It's
really.
It's like I've stopped wearing a mask, but nobody says shit to me, right?
Yeah.
Now, if the odd person says, "Hey, can you put your mask on?" then I will, but that hasn't happened yet. But it's just so many people. Like, you see these people driving in their cars all by themselves with a mask on. It's like, what are you doing, man?
Oh yeah, and I mean it's like that here in Nevada too. And I don't mean that necessarily the normal person's attitude seems to change, but I'm just saying in the types of things that like the official sources are saying, they've definitely backed off a lot of what they were saying 6 months ago.
Right. Oh yeah.
Like like kind of admitting that the cloth masks don't work, admitting that some women have had their periods disrupted, admitting that you can still get and spread it with the vaccine, even boosted and all this. So like they're kind of being forced to admit some of the realities of it. And at the same time saying, no, it's still super important that you get the vaccine. Like you're just saying that now you're asking this guy to get a fourth one and I'm supposed to try to get my first or something. Like, forget about it.
Yeah, fuck it. I don't know. It's and here in Canada, like a lot of people that were totally against it, like the guy that I work with, he had to get, like, he was totally against getting his vaccines, and I don't blame him one bit. But now, if you can't do the job we're doing without a vaccine, you can't get unemployment insurance without the vaccine. or sorry, if you don't have the vaccine, you cannot get EI. So, I guess you can become a criminal,
Right.
like be a politician or something. But really, it's you have to comply, or you're just going to die in the woods. Or you don't have to comply, go into the woods and live it out. But I think eventually people will just be like, "Oh yeah, he's over there.
Right.
Can I have some rations? I told you where the bad man was."
Yeah, exactly. To give people up for.
And that's history, right? Like, it's World War II. People are turning over on their neighbor quicker than you could say free peanut butter. You know what I mean? It's
Right.
It's a shit show.
It's definitely scary stuff. That's always going to be a risk to keep in mind. It doesn't matter how few people know. Someone's going to get family members even and stuff, give people up.
Oh, yeah. Well, you see it on Facebook all the time. Family members are turning other family members in because they're not wearing a mask in the shopping center.
Yeah, like the so-called insurrection in the Capitol in January. Some guy, and that was most of the people were just there, just like as a protest at worst, and then wandered into open doors and whatnot. Some guy's son like turned him in, so like recognized and said he was there to the cops. Like, man, yeah, brutal. What a little shit.
Yeah.
I feel bad for the people that were there that were legitimately just going in for a tour. They had nothing to do with the protest. They were
it's absurd.
Neutral.
Imagine like completely just there. Yeah.
Imagine if they got arrested and they were completely innocent. And it's like,
a lot of people did. Tour, right? That literally happened. The people were just there because there was a gathering, supposedly, just to support President Trump or whatever. And then some people said they saw like police like waving them in and stuff like that. Like once the doors were open, and then so it's weird.
I was going to say the gentleman with the he had some sort of like the horns or something. Yeah, he seemed to get the most.
Because he became like the face of it, so they really went crazy on him.
Yeah, we don't have that sort of stuff here in Canada. You Americans sometimes, yeah. But I do agree in that Quebec would certainly be it'll almost have like a ripple effect, and because everything is sort of boiling the frog slowly, sort of the way that the gears are moving, it's really hard to see what's going to happen next. Like, I'd love for this thing to go away, but maybe the spring is going to be next year, is it another 2 years, 5 years? Dan, you seem to think that this is going to be a part of a bigger picture or bigger plan. What I would say is that people are taking advantage of this. Anybody with negative influence, if there's never let a crisis go to waste, I think is the phrase that they say.
Yeah, that's what I've said this whole time. So many people seem to think every step of this stuff is planned, which I don't think. I just see them obviously taking full advantage of any possible opportunity to advance what they do want to do, and it's making it a lot easier when people are so scared.
And fear works. It's just like anytime, any wartime thing when, I know when we moved into our FOB in Afghanistan, we did a artillery mortar demonstration to pretty much show, hey, listen, we're here and we can, do this to you. Yeah. It's pretty much, we're gonna do this and keep doing this until you start saying where the bad people are. Kind of like, here, we're going to keep doing lockdowns. We're going to keep mandating this. We're going to keep saying you have to do this. And if you don't do it, well, then we're going to start taking away essentials, or we're going to start taking away, family time, or we're going to take away, which they've done over Christmas. They've done several things, and I don't think I think it's gonna get a lot worse before it gets better. And this starting point in Quebec, I think the next province is gonna be Ontario. And then basically they're gonna try and move it. They'll probably move it out east more, New Brunswick. And then, those little provinces there before they start to try to tackle Saskatchewan and Alberta. They'll probably even go to BC to kind of see if they can kind of close us in. But
Yeah.
Saskatchewan, Alberta, they'll just say no.
Yeah, that's when it gets interesting.
Yeah, it's going to get really interesting.
Because I mean, even aside from any sort of physical conflict, if a lot of people, just enough people, even a significant portion of the population, single digit percentage, 5-8%, something like that, just decided to go on some sort of general strike of this, say, no, we're not going to participate anymore in whatever jobs they have. They could be government workers, could be people who work in power plants or mechanics, truckers, whatever. Just said, all right, no, we're putting our foot down. Then that could cause some weird issues as well.
Well, I think what happened was we keep going back to Quebec, where they came with the healthcare workers needed to have their mandatory vaccinations, and a lot of healthcare workers said, no, I'm not doing it. So they were all excommunicated from the fold.
Right.
Then all of a sudden they're like, holy shit, we have no healthcare workers.
Yeah, that happened here too.
So they're like, yeah, come on back. Even if you've had COVID in the past, we, so sorry, please come back and help us out. Well, okay. So now that happened when, so I also read somewhere today that they want to start doing cross-border truckers, saying, yeah, you have to have the vaccination to come back into Canada.
Right.
So I'm thinking supply shortages, because truckers will be like, no, we don't want to do that. So there's going to be a huge supply shortage before they say, hey, I guess we can't do that. But hey,
and that's if even a few, like I said, even a small percentage. Like, think of all the truckers that are currently doing cross-border stuff. It's not like there's a ton extra as is. So if even 5%, 10% of them are suddenly not moving stuff anymore, that could cause massive cascading problems.
Oh, and then people will be like, holy shit, there's no water, let's go buy it up.
Right. And then that makes it even worse. The fear of it getting worse will make people hoard things and buy it all up when it is available. So yeah, it just could get insane.
Yeah, it's gonna be an interesting year this year. Yeah. And that's why, again, I came to BC. I made sure to drive this time because I was worried about, not having my stuff with me. And thank God that I had my stuff with me, that, because of that avalanche that happened on the highway, I was able to, keep myself warm and hydrated in my vehicle. But I'm very fearful to see what the next 6 months are going to bring.
Yeah.
But again, if I have to go out and live in the woods, and I'll go live in the woods. But
yeah, we got another super chat from Hawks. I appreciate it, sir. It says, my parents live in Bathurst, New Brunswick. They have a bill, no vax, no essentials. War is coming. So I guess it's another law that they're proposing, that you can't get certain shopping or anything done. So yeah, they're definitely pushing it. So they want to see how much they can get away with, and they're going to find out eventually.
It's just like young soldiers when they say, hey, listen, don't go to that bar. So what happens? We all went to the bar.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
They gave us the rope to hang us with. It just seems now that the government's just seeing how much they can kind of do before it finally blows up. And then, when it finally does blow up, what's the next step? Now, this is just my own opinion. I could be completely wrong in this 100%, but again, it just seems that all the work has been done, and it's now it's kind of happening, just like these detention camps that have been popping up all over Canada, all over the world. Remember back last year when the conspiracy hats were saying, yeah, there's no such thing as detention centers. Then all of a sudden on TikTok, all these videos are coming out of people in these detention centers or detention hotels or what have you.
Right. And then they try to say,
fruition.
well, it's voluntary. And then they're like, and we have a couple people that escaped. And you're like, how do you
Yeah.
escape from a voluntary?
Well, exactly. That's like saying, hey, yeah, we had everybody over for a fucking pool party, and then
You can't leave.
I got the hell out of that pool party because there wasn't any vodka, or you know
Right.
what I mean? Like, who's gonna leave? Who's gonna leave an awesome pool party with free booze? Like,
Right.
come on.
Here's what's interesting to me, and to sort of compliment what you were saying, Dan, is the it's going to get worse, and I would agree with you. And this is why I think it's going to get worse, is because we're going through a pandemic. Some people got their shots right away. It took a little bit longer for more people to get their shots. This thing in Quebec, there was more people got their vaccine shot because of the newer restrictions. So we're going down the line. I think it's like 90% of the people in Ontario are vaxxed at this point, but there's still that 10%. But within that 10%, there's a 1 to 2%. There's a percentage of people that are angry, that are saying, you know, screw you to the government. I'm not going. There's nothing you can do to take me down. There's zero. They wake up and they're angry, going through social media. So somewhere in this remaining 10%, going down the line, we're reaching that segment of the population that is ready to explode. So yes.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we kind of talk, regardless of what you think should be done or whatever. It's a reality that there's a certain percentage of these population that are like the Marvin Hiermeyers, Timothy McVeighs, and whatever. And if you start saying, no, you know, right, you lose your job, you can't go to the movies, you can't do that. They're just eventually, it doesn't take too many of these people to lose their shit for things that really get interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. And
look how some people in the States freak out when there's no chicken McFlays or any chicken nuggets left.
Popeyes runs out of sandwiches, we get riots. Imagine what's going to happen when some of these people lose their shit.
You know what I mean? Like, it's like,
exactly.
Jesus, it's just, fuck it. It's going to be it's a tinderbox, man. And the tinderbox is here, and over here is a giant, powder keg.
Yeah, leaky powder keg.
Oh man, it is gonna be. It's crazy, man. What's gonna happen, or how it's gonna happen, and something's gonna kick off, and it's gonna be like dominoes, man. It's gonna be one person's gonna kick it off, and it's just gonna be like it's like smoking in a fireworks depot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Letting your ashes out everywhere, and then finally it just.
Right.
But
Hawk again, appreciate it. He says history repeats, always a vacation in 1939 until it wasn't. Let's pray we do better. I believe like then financial geopolitical war is unavoidable. It's time to wake up. Yeah, I mean, like you were saying with the analogy of the fireworks, we're already past the point where you're smoking in there. So which ember or which ash falls on a fuse, that who knows? It'll probably seem sudden, even though it's not. This stuff has been building.
And to kind of go with that, analogy of the fireworks, a lot of people just be sitting there with the fireworks going off in their face, going, "Wow,
right,
that's pretty neat," or
yeah, wow,
like, "Oh, how is this happening?" or "How did it get to this point?" As they're butting cigarettes out on their feet in the fireworks bay. You know what I mean? Like, it's
right.
We're letting it happen. We're letting them do it. It's
similar to, if you don't mind, just interrupt you for a second, Dan.
Yeah.
There's a movie I saw recently. It's, Leonardo DiCaprio, Jennifer Lawrence.
Oh, Don't
Look Up. Yeah. There's that sort of, and it was kind of humorous at some points, but it really, for me, magnified the disconnect or delusion that some people have in reality, even with the pandemic that we're experiencing now. This huge disconnect psychologically with respect to the realities happening around them. I didn't mean to turn a downer there, but thanks, man. Yes, I agree, dude. It's time to wake up. I gotta wake up. I'm doing something. Side note: if you're Ontario, just go to ontariopreppers.ca. I've got a cold water immersion thing I'm doing in a couple of weeks, so I'm literally doing the ice water bath.
Oh, really?
thing
You can
and-
do like the Wim Hof
Yes.
style breathing in the ice.
Yes, yeah. Talk about, we'll have some discussion on hypothermia and stuff like that. So,
Have you done any of that before? Like the ice swimming?
yes, yep,
Okay.
I've done it a couple times. It's not, dude,
That thing terrifies me.
okay.
That's
We got
I need to do it. I need to
Ever
do it.
come to Ontario?
Yeah.
That's exactly what we're gonna do.
It scares the shit out of me, but I gotta.
Why?
Do it.
What's scary? Why?
I don't know. I mean, it's just like the physical reaction I have to like almost ice cold water. Your body stops working. It's scary, and I haven't had a lot of exposure to it, so I don't like it. So that's why I need to do it. Definitely need to do it.
It is terrifying. A few times I've done it before. You have your one reaction that you do have is you go,
yeah, like that.
gasp.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And I've tried to fight it, and I can't. It's like the first part of the primitive brain. You just
right.
Like you have this subconscious biological reaction from your reptilian brain.
Right.
So that's going to be my wake up call, Hawk. Thanks,
Cool.
brother, for your donations tonight, man. I hope you and your wife and the kids are well. Dan, this is going to be a regular, your regular.
Yeah, man, it's been fun every
host
time.
Now it's Red. Ted, you were going to say though, dude. Please tell us.
I was thinking after your I was thinking after your little polar plunge, you'd be like, my dick is so hard, and everybody like to find.
Like Seinfeld. I was in the pool.
I was in the pool. I was in the pool.
I was in the pool. I was in the pool.
Oh shit, man.
I don't know. This turned out to picking on me for some reason.
All right, your turn, buddy. Go ahead. It's good. Like this beard. Come on.
Right.
I should be out milking Amish cows or something.
All right, no comment there. I'm not too sure of that. But, yeah, appreciate the humor.
It's been fun. It's like go ahead.
No, it's okay. It's all good. What were we gonna
I was just going to say, I mentioned very early in the broadcast that my computer is in the process of dying. So I can use the camera. Seems like this is working fine, but I can't do any video editing right now. So I'm in the process of buying a new one. So I'll be back on the channel for sure. But it'll probably be a week or two until I can have anything up there that's not the live streams or anything really, really basic. So
Yeah, awesome. Where can people find you?
same places. The check the YouTube channel for when I do get stuff up there on rulethewasteland.com. That's it. How about you guys?
What's a computer go for in the States?
I mean, it's as much as you want to spend, since I don't need to do anything incredibly intense, and I don't do any super high level video editing, but I need to get a mid-range one. So I'm looking at, for like a desktop, I'm just looking at somewhere in the $800 to $1,200 America US. So nothing insane, but I can't get a super cheap one.
Yeah.
I wanted to. This one lasted 10 years. I want to get another, 5 to 10 years out of it. So I don't want to go too cheap.
Gotcha.
Dan, where can people find you?
Well, basically, again, I should actually tell you, I've been blowing up on TikTok lately.
Oh yeah, I gotta get on there. I have an account, but I never use it, so I gotta check yours out.
So yeah, I said something about this shit show going on in Quebec. Unbelievably, it got like 20,000 views in a week and a half, and I was like, oh, in fact, that's kind of weird that happened. But I've been kind of saying, it's just basically, I see something on the news, I say it on TikTok, and a lot of people are saying, well, that's kind of neat, or they'll follow you or what have you. But I find that TikTok, that's the only place I'm really finding the news, like any news worth watching, because every other place is kind of screwed up. But I kind of give my political and my beliefs on there as well. So if people want to ever check it out, if they're on it, it's Gray Sox Productions.
Gray Sox?
Gray Sox, Gray.
AY, all right. Yeah, I've noticed it with stuff like Twitter and TikTok and other formats where you get stuff really quickly is the best when they start like banning, and because they don't have time to catch it,
Right.
So eventually these people will get their stuff kicked off, but then you can still get access to it in a way that you can't on longer form like YouTube, where you have to upload the video. It has to get disseminated, you know what I mean? So something like TikTok and Twitter and other things, you can just blast little snippets out there really quick to a lot of people, and they can spread it. Like those tend to be the best ways to avoid that stuff in the short term.
That's great. I do want to try this. I got this night vision that I want to see how it works on my camera here.
All right.
So
While you're setting that up, I will. CLM says TikTok is a confirmed Chinese asset. Yeah, I mean, like anything you put on any electronic device, you have to assume could be compromised. So obviously, if there's something that you wouldn't want, that you wouldn't do with an FBI agent standing beside you, don't do it on anything electronic. Period. So I can see you.
That's kind of
A little grainy. It's not focused, but
yeah. Let me just focus it here.
Cool.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not bad.
no, there you go.
But there's a lot of light in here and such. So
Right, it's still light, but is that just an ambient light one, or does it have an illuminator on it? Like IR?
yeah, it does have an IR, but it's a white phosphorus one. So I brought it with me to Ontario last time I came. So it was kind of neat. A lot of people kind of like trying it out and such, but I got that from a place in Ontario called Cold Harbor Supply. If anybody's ever looking for
Sounds good.
stuff that they want to look at getting, but kind of pricey. But
Yeah, that stuff's come down a lot, but it's still pricey. Still not cheap.
I think if you need to see in the dark when a shit hits the fan scenario happens, pricey's good.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, certainly a huge advantage, but especially walking through the woods at night. Heat signatures. I tried yours out, Dan. I tried out other.
Yep.
Actually, Bug Out Dan. He had one I tried a few years ago as well. It's amazing.
Yeah, I got to use some in the Army, and it was awesome. I mean, you see somebody smoking a cigarette, looks like a UFOs and lighting them up. It's so obvious from even like 100 yards away. It's a big glow just from like a little cigarette and stuff. It's pretty wild.
Cool. All right. Well, I got to check out. I'm Jay. You
Oh, yeah.
can go to OntarioPreppers.ca, and then I do some winter camping coming up. Also got one of the LDS going to stockpile lots of food if you want to hang out with the Mormons. They're cool. We've got canned goods ready. Just buy it right off the shelf. It's good for 30 years.
Is that the taste testing that I see on Meetup a lot that you guys are doing, or is that
That
something
was
else?
one of them, and I didn't get to actually taste test their stuff. I should. It's ridiculously cheap, and I've tried it before. I haven't had a taste test specifically for them yet, but I should. But it's more like generic ingredients. It's like black beans,
Okay.
and carrots. So I don't know if a taste test would be all that much fun, as opposed to some of the other sort of meals that you get in bulk, or it's spaghetti and chicken Alfredo and this and that. They're actual dishes per se. But
I'm really hoping that this year we do come down for work again in Ontario, because I really want to take part in a lot more of Meetup, a lot more activities that you're doing. Definitely, I want to be there for July, and I'd like to, off camera, maybe talk to you about maybe sort of if we can do it like a theme of some sorts, or of that weekend, whether it doesn't have to be the whole thing, but maybe just something to kind of look at for doing that weekend.
Sure, yeah, we'll certainly talk offline. That was certainly the plan, to have you even with Eric too. If this thing ever gets sorted out and figured out, we'll have you down there to teach. And Dan's referring to something called the annual Preppers Meet, or the Canadian Survival Expo, and it's like a 3-day Woodstock of all sorts of great instructors here in Ontario. And we, archery, axe throwing, shelter building, rabbit dispatching. It's sort of a wide variety of events. And 4 days, come out one day early, and we all hang out by the fire.
We got one more super chat from Hawk, your buddy Hawk. I appreciate it. Sorry, I missed it when it first popped up. It says Prepper Logic is the best. I don't disagree.
All right.
Thank you again for your support, my friend.
Again. Awesome.
So you guys normally do memes. I got a whole bunch of memes put on t-shirts, so you guys might get a kick out of this one here. I don't know if you can see it, but
get your beard out of the way. Is it like a Tetris with Jesus on it?
Yeah.
Why?
I don't have any memes today.
I made sure to wear that around BC today during church service Sunday. There was a lot of upset people.
Oh, I imagine, yeah. So cool. Thanks everybody for showing up. We'll tentatively plan for 2 weeks. Does that work for you guys? As
Yep,
usual.
I'm good.
We would have done last week, but I was just coming back in from being out of town for New Year's, so I didn't even get in till 7 or 8. So would have missed it. But it's been fun as always. And you can email Shay or myself with any ideas or topics for the show and whatnot, scenarios you want us to go over. It's been fun. So appreciate it, gentlemen.
Rule the wasteland at gmail.com. Thanks everyone